Hello, everyone out there in coin collecting land. This is Ron, and I'm back with you, of course, with a new episode of Empire Coins and Collectibles. Today, we're going to be talking more about dimes, two dimes, as a matter of fact. What I'm trying to do is, of course, keep the episodes abbreviated because it seems like most of our viewing audience do not like long, drawn out episodes. So, we're going to accommodate you. So, enough with all of that. If you could, please like, share, and subscribe. That would help us out immensely with our channel, and we would reach more people sharing the joy of coin collecting. Now, in order for me to go ahead and just get right with it, we're going to today show you a couple of dimes, a Roosevelt dime and a Mercury dime. As a matter of fact, one of our good friends that has subscribed to us is asking to see more Roosevelt dimes. I'm hesitant to mention his name. He's down in the comments somewhere. Maybe you can find him, but he likes Roosevelt dimes. I've got one that I'll share with you that I haven't previously shared, and then I'll share a Mercury dime. So more dimes in just a moment. Let me go ahead and change the cameras, and we'll be looking at my desktop. And that way we'll see exactly what we're going to be talking about today. We'll also use the coin microscope. So what we see here are two dimes. One is a Mercury dime 1940S, and the other is a 1959 Roosevelt dime. And there's two types of errors. And look, I did find my toothpick. I told Miss Empire to get me a whole box of those, so I'll have them up at my desk. It's easier to point with the toothpick because we're dealing with some pretty fine detail. But this Mercury dime has a couple of interesting features. It looks like there's a die crack right there, and we'll look at it a little closer under the coin microscope. And then if we go almost 180 degrees to the opposite corner, I shouldn't say corner, to the opposite point, we have a doubling on R. At least that's what it looks like to me. So when we get to this coin, I want you to take a deep, long look at it and let me know, is it a doubled die averse, since we're on the averse? The other one is dealing with the Roosevelt dime, and it looks like we have another D over D. We went through a series of these coins, Roosevelt dimes, 1960, 61, 62, 63, mainly focusing on the 61s, 63s, and 64s, I believe. But this one is a D over D. Again, I believe. I want you to tell me if you agree or disagree from a 1959 dime. This one is in decent condition. This one is also, but they certainly are circulated, not like the ones that we viewed previously. So what I'm going to do is get you a closer look with this one up close here before we take it to the coin microscope. So it's not in too bad a shape, but the interesting feature will be better seen when we look at it under the coin microscope. So I'm going to switch cameras right now. We're going to go to the coin microscope, and I'm going to slide this jewel under it. We're going to look at this side, the averse side first. We'll tour around the coin itself on the averse just to see if there's anything interesting other than what we look as a D over D. The big blocky JS, I guess that's the engraver artist initials. In God we trust, nothing really of great interest there. And in Liberty, not seeing anything there. Let's check the hair out. Nothing really of great interest there. And then the date, we've already scanned past it. There is something, but this is probably just after mint damage right in there. I'm not sure. It looks like it's something, but since we can't tell for sure, it's nothing. Okay, that would be my rule of thumb. If you can't make it out as to what it might be, you can't attribute it, and therefore it is nothing. We're going to the reverse side, and we're going to tour around this coin. It's not in a very clean state. Of course, we don't want to clean the coin. Here's one dime. We'll come back to the mint mark in just a second. Here's the pluribus unum. Nothing going on there. And you could tell just looking at the torch, it's well circulated and therefore well loved. And again, of course, United States of America, not a whole lot going on right there. Now there is a this is after mint damage. Somewhere in the handling of that coin was handled pretty rough, but still it's of value to me because I believe we've got a D over D on the mint marks. Let's go down and take a look at that. Okay, there it is. Clearly, you can see this D is overlaid on another D. Let me go down a little further. And is it a D over D? Well, I tell you, it certainly looks like it is to me. What do you think? Is this a repunch mint mark? And it is a 1959 Roosevelt. I love it. Again, it doesn't take much for a coin to be added to my collection. The condition, obviously, I would love to have it perfectly uncirculated. But because most of the coins that you find, especially coins that are made of silver, they've been out in circulation quite a bit. And if they have errors on them, they're still cherished. Of course, people cherish it because it's silver. But in this particular case, it's not only silver, it has what clearly looks to be a repunch mint mark. Let me rotate it around so you can look at it from different perspectives. Might be able to see it a little bit better there, trying to bring it into a little crisper focus. But I would say that second underlaying D is slipping out to the west of the top D, and there's no doubt in my mind, is there in yours? If you don't think it's a repunch mint mark, a D over D, what do you think it is, right? It's certainly not part of the original, how can I say this, engraving of the image or punching of the mint mark, because it'd be a singular D rather than a couple of Ds. I'm just rotating it around again. You know, one of the things about double dies and things of that nature, you want to rotate the coin around to get a look at it from all perspectives. And if the view of the error persists, then you know it's probably real. But sometimes just by rotating it around, what was really a shadow and not an error kind of disappears, and that would say it's not an error. It's not anything significant. Okay, we're almost through the rotation, just to make sure we look at it from every perspective. Kind of interesting. They could use with a bit of cleaning to clean that dirt out, but I'm hesitant to even do that because it would be, quote, cleaned then, and any value it might have had as a D over D would be ruined because it's a cleaned example. There are some professionals who will do it and do it well and not damage the coin. I don't think I'm one of those, although I'm not a professional either. Okay, now we're going to go back to the main camera and we're going to look at the other coin. Actually, we're going to go to the tabletop camera. So the second coin is the main feature of this episode. It is a 1940 S. It has a die crack as we showed earlier, but we'll go into greater detail under the coin microscope. And it has some type of doubling up here on the R. So the real question, of course, is we know that this will be a die crack when we look at it because they're pretty distinct. But sometimes doubling, whether it's a DDO, machine doubling, or something else, it takes a bit of inspection, right? So we'll look at that as well. So let's do that right now. I'm going to change over to the coin microscope. And we're going to go down. So a little bit of debris on the cellophane of the flip. Now, it looks like it was weakly struck on In God We Trust. You can see that it's almost a godless coin, almost, not quite. And then we rotate. Ah, there she is. There she is. That clearly is a die crack, wouldn't you say? I don't know what else would cause a feature like that to come about on a coin. I'm trying to get my toothpick in there to point to it right there. Obviously, I don't need to point to it, but I just like doing that, right? So it's clear this die was well used, and it was perhaps toward the end of life when this coin was minted. Now, that kind of maybe explains this idea of why the God in God We Trust is not quite as distinct as the rest of the coin. It could be through wear of the die that this feature was uh, I don't want to say worn away, but polished away maybe, or something. It was just over its life eroded away to some great extent. It could be a grease error, but I don't know. It doesn't look with all the features and textures that a grease error has. I think it's just because the die was older, well used, and then of course it cracked under the pressure of bending the coins. Now, could this have something to do with what I'm saying is the doubling up on the top of the coin? So let's go around the coin. We're just kind of touring around the coin, making sure we don't miss anything. Here's the Y, T. There's another die crack. Look at that. I missed that. Clearly, that is another die crack right there. I need to annotate that on the flip itself. So it's just to the north and west of the T in Liberty. Interesting, isn't it? You find all sorts of things. Now, this is the feature in question. Whoops. Look at that R. Do you see something on the other side of the R? You know what else? What it could be, if it's not a doubling on the R, is this another failure of the die? That's kind of, I hadn't thought about that. Could this be the beginnings of another die crack? What do you guys think? Clearly, there's something going on to the north and west of the R. Right? Well, let me see. I'll get up in there with the toothpick right there. So right in there, clearly, something has erupted. And initially, I thought, as you've seen on the flip, I thought it might be a DDO. It still looks that way to me. It still looks that way. As a matter of fact, I don't know if this is indicative of some doubling right in here. You see that? But could it be the beginnings of a die crack as well? Yeah, it could be. But it's probable, but not likely, I would say. And this also, the reason why it looks like a DDO, it might be a rotational DDO on when the die was originally made. That double image was imprinted on the working die. So it looks like it's been rotated to the east and south as that R went around right there, you see. So that does look like, I think I'm going to stick with my original determination. It looks like a DDO. Let's go on around, see if there's anything else. So we've been surprised a couple of times. That F looks like, there we go. That F looks like it has, I don't know, it might be dirt, but it looks like there's some imaging right here. But not as dramatic as the R. Don't really see anything on the B. I am not sure. I'm just not sure. The L. Now, see, that's a good question right there on the L in Liberty. Is that a top L overlaying a bottom L? And oh, by the way, look right there. That looks like there's another die crack. So instead of having one die crack, this coin looks like it has 3 die cracks and some doubling. that really doubles my pleasure in collecting this coin, because it's got multiple features that appear to be errors. Some of them definitely are errors, the die cracks, but if this is a double die due to a rotation that struck when the mint was made a couple of times. I mean, when the die was made a couple of times, it was struck. Maybe that is a DDO. At least that is my hope. Let's see if we can go up now and get a bigger view of the coin, not so close. Oh, there we are. Now here, you certainly can see that on the I, and you can see it on the L down there with that die crack coming out of the top of the L. Come back in over here. Something going along on the west side of the F, but clearly that R is doubled. Then you can see that other die crack just to the north and west of the T. It's clear now up in this area right here, right? And then, of course, this die crack down here. And maybe this is a grease error, but it looks like it's that die is just kind of worn away. I don't know. You guys will have to tell me. But this is what makes coin collecting so interesting. You come across features that, in my limited knowledge, it's hard for me to explain. I have to go off and do some research. But I learn more and more about the process of minting coins and what it takes to create something that we can use in circulation. But in any case, I think we're done with this coin. Let me go back to the main camera for the wrap up. Okay, so all of this, I'll get rid of that light right there. All of this is about the joy of coin collecting. That Mercury dime with the die cracks on it. We found 3 cracks. One was identified, the other 2 not. We did see the doubling on the R, but there's doubling on the L as well. So that was goodness. So there's a lot going on this coin. We would say a lot of goodness, even though it's errors or varieties. Makes it very interesting to collect. All right, my friends, I hope this has been good for you. I hope you found it interesting, and perhaps maybe you learned something from my rambling, and I hope also it wasn't too long. Let me know down below what you think, and if there's something specific you'd like to see, maybe I have it in my collection, let me know and I'll bring it forward and we'll talk about it in the next few episodes. And with that, my friends, you take care, and I look forward to seeing you again. Remember, if you're not out there looking, you're not finding. All the best.